See how that one plays out with the other one that's also moving through on the Senate side. A state stepping into our country's immigration enforcement issue. That isn't a new thing. Texas has been doing it for years along the Rio Grande. But only recently has Idaho decided to dip a toe. NAMPA Representatives Jaron Crane and Bruce Skog have teamed up twice this year to try to make being in Idaho undocumented a state crime. House Bill 83, the latest version, would allow local law enforcement officers to check and document the citizenship status of anyone suspected of a crime. But law enforcement can't just ask for proof of citizenship at will, at any time they want. That person does have to be involved with some other crime, like theft or assault. Well, today that bill had a public hearing. And you might remember, during the print hearing of this bill, we said, well, we'll see if the Idaho Dairymen's Association, or PODAIR of Idaho, the ACLU of Idaho, and the American Immigration Lawyers Association, we'll see if they all show up to speak against this bill like they did last year. Well, PODAIR did show up today at the State House, just not at the committee hearing, but they were under the rotunda.
Our message today is that the specific bills, House Bill 11 that's been entered, and any other bill that asserts to accomplish anything of value for the residents of Idaho by giving or trying to give federal power to individual state officers is not only misguided, it's a waste of money, it's scary, and it's a reflection of not understanding the problem or wanting to really solve it.
So House Bill 11, as she mentioned, was the first version of this bill. House Bill 83 is the newest one with a few tweaks to it. And members of the immigrant support organization, PODAIR, they encourage the community to stand up against all of them, as you just heard. All anti-immigration bills introduced in the legislature. As for the Idaho Dairymen's Association, unlike last year, they actually switched sides this session to support this legislation. Hunter Funk found out why and what changed.
We have made some changes since we brought that piece of legislation to us in 2024.
That 2024 bill, introduced late into the session, sailed through the House but stalled in the Senate. Now, Representative Jaron Crane and Bruce Skog are trying again, introducing an immigration bill with a little different language. Adjustments the sponsors made after meeting with the Home Builders Group and Idaho Dairymen's Association.
I'll take you, committee and Mr. Chairman, down to line 29 on page 1. It reads, law enforcement officers may enforce the provisions of this section only when a person is detained or investigated for suspected commission of an independent crime. So independent crime simply means not the crime of illegal entry or being illegally in the state of Idaho or the United States, so some other crime. Crimes are not infractions. Crimes are not getting a traffic ticket. That's an infraction. But if you're being investigated for an actual crime or charged with an actual crime, then you may be cited for the misdemeanor portion of this bill.
The bill states the first time someone is discovered to be undocumented, they could be charged with a misdemeanor. The second time, a felony, and the person would be deported, according to Crane. The bill's new language limits the illegal entry charge to a person investigated for, charged with, or convicted of an unrelated crime.
We are after the criminal element of illegal aliens. That's the focus of this. And I am thankful that the Dairymen's Association gave us this additional wording, which was very important to make the bill a success.
The Idaho Dairymen's Association CEO says the group could only support the legislation if it limited who would be subject to immigration status checks.
You know, the state of Idaho as a whole has risk if you didn't narrow the scope of the bill. There's risk for, you know, Idaho's rural economies and especially our agricultural economies. And you also have industries like home building and, you know, service and hospitality industries that would also be very much impacted without a more narrow approach to this.
Now, Narabout says it's not a perfect bill, but one that represents a compromise.
We're not completely comfortable. There's still some things that we would like to see changed in the legislation, but honestly, there was enough modifications that we can get behind it and support it.
He also agrees with legislators, saying the nation needs more security at the border, but he hopes the conversation can change from enforcement to reform, including clear paths to entry for workers his industry relies on.
So that we create some additional legal pathways so that sectors of the economy that don't have access to visa programs would be able to have access to a visa program in the future.
The Idaho Dairymen's Association and 2 other people testified in favor of the bill. The only pushback came from Representative Todd Achilles, who's concerned about the legality of the bill. This bill copies a Texas law, which the Lone Star State approved in 2023, legislation that's being challenged in court over whether it violates the supremacy clause of the Constitution because immigration falls under federal law and states don't have the authority to override that.
Lots of concern about this, and I think we need to move a little slower to protect taxpayers from potential lawsuits. And for those reasons, I'm a no on this, Mr. Chairman.
And it made it through committee with only 2 no votes, one of which being Achilles, and it's now headed to the House.
And that's the thing, though, I think that stuck out was this word of deportation in this bill. That is a federal issue. That's the feds take care of that. And so I guess it would take the first time that somebody that Idaho tries to deport somebody, that when it becomes a lawsuit, I would say.
Exactly. I mean, you're seeing this happen in Texas right now, right? Like we just talked about. So it's something to keep an eye on.
All right. We'll see how far it goes as well. Thank you very much, Hunter.